Foundation Season 3, Episode 2 just dropped, and a couple of momentous things happened. We're introduced to some of the key characters from the books. First, Preem Pulver from the book Second Foundation. Preem Pulver is the first speaker of the Second Foundation, and so yes, the outcast Mentalics from Season 2 that Harry Seldon and Gaal Dornick were training on the planet Ignis do become the Second Foundation, and the first speaker is their leader. In the book Second Foundation, Preem Pulver was in disguise as a slow-witted farmer, but it turned out to be a ruse. The book Second Foundation is all about the Mule's search for their location, and we find out at the very end. Now, on the TV show so far, the location is different. It's the planet Ignis, but the story may swerve back to the books, so I won't talk about the information from the books just yet. Episode 2 begins with a flashback 150 years in the past to Harry and Gaal going into cryosleep and waking up for a few weeks every year to train the Second Foundationers in psychohistory and in the use of their mentalic powers. But because the third crisis and the Mule are approaching too quickly, Harry decides to stay awake with the Second Foundationers and to let Gaal go into cryosleep, because she's destined to battle the Mule. So 148 years later, Gaal wakes up and is greeted by Preem Pulver, who's identified up front as the first speaker. And on the TV show, he's mute. So maybe he can hear or uses a hearing aid, but he doesn't speak. He uses sign language. And this is in keeping with the humility of his character from the books. He was a farmer. No one suspected he could be the first speaker of the Second Foundation. And in the books, the Second Foundation is shrouded in mystery. Their location, any information about them turned out to be just a huge surprise at the end of that book. But back to the TV show. Harry Seldon is still alive when Gaal wakes up, just 2 years before the present timeline. The day he wakes up is the day he's chosen to die. He doesn't tell Gaal. Harry is in his house when he's greeted by Callie, who's an embodiment of the Prime Radiant. She's the one who allowed this version of Harry Seldon to live again and to train the Second Foundation. But on the day of his death, he goes into what looks like a portal into another dimension. So one of the Harry Seldons on the TV show is now no more. There's a holographic Harry Seldon in the vault still. He will emerge shortly, probably next episode, to continue guiding the first Foundation. The next momentous thing that happens in episode 2. We learn that the Mule has a vulnerability, a big one, I'd say. He can control people's minds, emotions, and behavior, but it makes him tired. So he limits his control to just a couple of key individuals, and the Mule's demonstrations of his power are usually sufficient to make everybody else fall in line. So, like most dictators who use threats of military force to keep people in line, the Mule uses fear to maintain control. He demonstrates control over the young daughter of the former Archduke Balerion, just to let the Calgon army know that he can compel every one of their children to kill themselves if the army gets out of line. The Mule's vulnerability on the TV show is only hinted at in the books. In the books, we understand that the Mule does experience despair. Now, here the TV show is exploring that and presents it as a different kind of vulnerability, or maybe not so different. Last week in episode 1, we learned that the descendants of Hober Mallow, one of the heroes of the first Foundation from season 2, veered from their loyalty to the Foundation in subsequent generations and developed hugely successful trade routes that made them an independent power. On the TV show, they're called traders. In the books, they're called merchant princes, and Hober Mallow was a merchant prince in the books. On the TV show season 2, Hober Mallow wasn't given that type of agency, but he did give his life to help the Foundation survive. So, on to the next momentous thing in episode 2 this season. On Calgon, descendants of Hober Mallow, extremely wealthy, are enjoying the fruits of successful trade. We are introduced to a newlywed couple, Torin and Beta Mallow. In the books, this couple are named Torin and Beta Daryl, with Beta being a descendant of Hober Mallow. The TV show names them Torin and Beta Mallow. Now, could this be a clue that they'll play a different role on the TV show than they did in the books? That would be my guess. I won't even discuss how they're pivotal in the books because it's all going to be different on the show. That's how it's shaping up to be. The Mule, who's just conquered Calgon, is throwing a swanky party to celebrate his coup d'etat, and the Mallows are invited. At this point, Captain Han Pritchard of the First Foundation arrives, seeking their help. He wants them to spy on the Mule. Han Pritchard is a character from the books, and he doesn't suffer an enviable fate in the books. We were introduced to him last week in episode 1. Last week, we found out that the First Foundation is growing and flourishing to challenge the Empire, just as psychohistory predicted, but the seeds of stagnancy, complacency, and rot are beginning to grow within the First Foundation as well, which psychohistory also predicted. Next momentous thing. In the Empire storyline, it turns out that Brother Dusk, who's scheduled to be euthanized, ain't ready to go. In the words of Roy Batty from Blade Runner, I want more life! Dusk has some great dialogue this episode as he pleads with Demerzel, then with Brother Day for more life, a reprieve, a change in the rules. And he's still Empire, so he's masterminded the development of a new weapon which harnesses the power of black holes. The resulting weapon is a planet-killing nuke, which the engineer demonstrates, but the planet isn't obliterated. Its molecules are rearranged or such that the planet is no longer the same. In future episodes, we'll find out what this weapon specifically does. Brother Dusk wants to unveil the weapon as a gift for Brother Dawn at the ceremony in which he officially becomes Brother Day. Meanwhile, Brother Dawn, about to become Day, receives a private message. It's from Gaal Dornick. She appears as a hologram. Dawn says to her, "The Mule, I expected your call as soon as I heard the name." Gaal replies, "Time to make yourself useful, Empire." So, boom, time for an alliance. Time to join forces to face down the real threat. Episode 3 next week should be eventful. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, leave a like and don't forget to subscribe.